how sweet it is to be loved by you nerds. What is up? It's me, your buddy pal HeyArcher. Welcome back to HeyArcher Live here on Nerd Affiliated. Happy to have you guys here with us tonight on this Tuesday night edition of the show. Like I said, I'd be coming back in and out sporadically in your lives like that, like that one guy in your life when you were a kid who probably left and said he'd be back and he never came back, but then sometimes comes back. Sometimes I come back. And this time it's on a Tuesday for another exciting episode of HeyArcher Live. So, in honor of some negativity we're going to talk about that some of you choose to believe or not believe, but in honor of that, hopefully by now, you've poured yourself a a little bit of,
more specifically, vodka, whiskey, beer, tequila, more beer, more vodka, more whiskey, and more beer.
as we potentially cruise into a short week for some of you. I don't know. I have a short week this week and next week. Hopefully you do too. But of course, if you have a YouTube channel, podcast, blog, OnlyFans, newsletter, smoke signals, whatever it may be, put it in the chat, support one another, plug yo shit. If you can, of course, make sure you spread the word of the channel, of the show. I didn't do any plugs today. I literally was just like, I'm gonna schedule it 5 minutes ago and see who shows up. So hopefully, see somebody's already in the chat. Nice to see you. I'll of course give you a shout out when the show starts. But we're gonna be talking some toy news today. We're gonna be talking some box office stuff, all the normal goodies that we talk about here on the channel. So should be a good one. Should be a fun one. And yeah, I say that as I have some bad news about stuff to talk about. Without further ado, man of the hour, whatever I usually say, I can't remember at the moment. The man, the myth, the legend. It's me.
Boo! Boo! Rubbish! Filth! Slime! Muck! Boo! Boo! Boo!
I didn't want to miss the drum roll, so I had a brain fart there and just did it. So yeah, you have that. Shout out to Marsha in the house. Good to see you. Like I said, this is a very impromptu live in my quest to do more lives per week. Finding time has just been hard, as I've told you guys before. So I hope that you get a chance to enjoy these random streams when they come about. I feel like I wrote some stuff down and I don't know where I put it, but it's fine. Yeah, I don't know what I did with that, but it's fine. We'll move on. We'll move on. KO in the house. Good to see you. Just closing out some of my work windows here. It's one of those, I don't know how many of you work from home, or even if you have a desk job, you're like, all right, today I'm going to just have a couple tabs, 2 windows, maybe 3 windows, couple tabs, stay organized, just keep the show going, keep the ball rolling. And then the day ends and you've got like 15 windows, 30 tabs each. Don't remember where you left off. You're closing things. It's a whole mess. So that's what just happened. That's all I got. That's the end of the show. Bye. See you guys later. But before you go, make sure you check out nerdaffiliated.com, your one-stop shop for all things nerd affiliated. I'm starting to do some cleanup over here on the website, changing the format, trying to change some colors around, move some things around, all that fun stuff. So make sure you guys head over there to find links to the latest shows, latest podcasts, episodes, all that fun stuff. And pretty soon, the store is going to get a couple new updates up here. So stay tuned for all of that. I'll come back to that store in a second. And then, of course, if you're into the Ghostbuster side of things, you have therealnerdbusters.com, where, once again, find links to the latest videos, latest photo albums. Save yourself 10% at toolandtalentprops.com. and all that goodness. So 2 websites for you. But if you want to get us in real time at the time, you can find us on Instagram, Nerd Affiliated on Instagram, The Real Nerdbusters on Instagram. That's not Real Nerdbusters, but we'll come back to that too. But you can find us on Instagram, shoot us a DM, and we're usually pretty responsive. So make sure you guys check in with us for that. Yeah, organized chaos. That is my life, organized chaos. In my mind, I'm organized, and then other people see it and they're like, I don't know what's going on there. But as you guys know, based on like my Excel sheets, based on like the photo albums on the website, I feel like I'm pretty organized. But I've been told the opposite plenty of times. So there's that. We will be, of course, talking about the T word today. So if you don't want to hear about that, I'm sorry. It's relevant news to what we do here. I'm just going to say that. But before we kick off today's episode, I'm going to start with some channel/us news over here and say a thank you to anybody who's listening. If you are a watcher who also goes back and listens, we had a lot of downloads last week. I don't post these that often when I get the updates. They do tend to fluctuate, but last week was huge with 315 downloads. So to anybody who's new listening to the podcast, again, these numbers are strictly on the audio only. So to any of you who are new, even just you who are returning, thank you so much for downloading the episodes, watching the show, all that fun stuff. We all really appreciate you guys sticking along for the ride. But with that, I will have to give some sad news. Sad channel news. I'm just going to take a swig real quick. So I asked you guys a question a couple weeks ago. Maybe it was more rhetorical because I didn't think anybody would give me an actual answer to that. But I posed a question. I wasn't sure what to do. And I think I made a decision actually based on that picture I just showed you. I think this is going to be the last episode with the full theme song / intro.
Boo! Boo! Rubbish! Filth! Slime! Muck! Boo! Boo! Boo!
I think this is it. Now, the reason I say that, once again, is because of this fact right here. Now, behind the scenes, for some of you who may not know, this podcast, and you're watching this on YouTube, most likely. Most likely, if you're consuming this content, you're on YouTube. And on Instagram, on TikTok, on the website, I usually point everybody to YouTube as like, come hang out with us. That's the most interactive way to watch a show, all that fun stuff. But the podcast numbers, the listening numbers have actually been increasing over the weeks, which I've been excited for. I've always dreamed of people also consuming what we do here on just the audio side, not exclusively on YouTube, even though I would prefer it on YouTube, but having an audio fan base is important to me as well. So the question I posed to you guys a couple weeks ago was, should I keep the intro as is? I feel like it might be too long, especially if people are coming in on the replay or even when the stream starts. Sometimes I'll see the view count kind of fluctuate as the song goes on. So because of this update I got this past week, I've decided to kibosh the super long intro to the stream. And the behind the scenes portion of that is because I take this show, and anytime I do a live like this, the HeyArcher live show, when I had Nerdy Coffee, any iterations of it, I take them and I put them like just uploaded to your favorite podcast platform. I just kind of drag it, move it over. If I have chapter markers, I put those in, etc. it's too much work to go back and like edit the long form podcast to then put it on the audio only and then like do an intro and all that stuff. So I just kind of move it, copy paste. For that reason, I don't want to lose anybody who may happen to download the audio podcast with a super long intro. And apparently YouTube's also starting to push their audio version or their audio options out there. So for that reason, I think this is the last episode with the super long intro. I will try to have a new intro by Thursday. That's a lot shorter. Kind of gets us straight to the point, gets the show rolling. And will the drum roll continue? I don't know. We will see. But yeah, you guys know, I told you before, I love a good intro. I love a good show intro. I feel like that's part of building a brand is having, music and all that with it. But I don't know. I feel like it's time. I feel like it's time to let that part of this channel and the show go. For the sake of just getting straight to it and catching people while their attention is still pretty high. So there's that. I actually saw something else this week, and it's what also helped push me over that edge. Kind of both things were happening at the same time. They're both happening at the same time. I should have had this locked and loaded. I didn't. See, is it muted? Almost muted. Not quite muted. I was watching this week, actually, and I was really surprised by this. It'll lead us into tariff stuff, I'm sure. But I saw that CNN did an interview with Tim Dillon. And I know Tim Dillon by name only from the Joe Rogan sphere of comedy. Sphere of comedy. That's where I know Tim Dillon by name. Never saw him in my life. Couldn't point him out to you in a crowd. Couldn't point him out to you in a group of like 3 comedians on stage that are all popular. But he did this interview with CNN. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. Somebody who I know from the Joe Rogan side of the internet has now gone over to the, probably the more well-known liberal outlets to do an interview, which I didn't really expect to ever see. But I was like, oh, I'll watch this and see. I'm just curious. And I got to say, this was actually really good. It was actually a very, very good interview. And what I think I liked the most about this interview, it'll come full circle. What I liked most about this interview was this girl here. I've seen her on other videos. I don't watch CNN that much, but I've seen her kind of getting promoted as an interviewer loosely tied to CNN because her style is very different than what you see on CNN. But it was a really good interview between the two of them. She was very much an outsider to that side of the internet, that side of the nerd space. I consider the comedy space of nerd space. So her questions were very, to me, relevant and very common questions people may have about the Rogan sphere that don't know a lot about it. I say all that in relation to the song thing because I said, you know what? I've actually never even looked at the Tim Dillon podcast before. I've never watched it. I've never heard his comedy. I think I saw him in a Kill Tony clip once on stage. Now that I see him, like maybe that's where I've seen him once. But I was like, let me look up the Tim Dillon podcast and see what it's all about. And that dude had no intro. That dude just straight goes into it. And he brought up in this interview how it's not like he got famous by doing a bunch of interviews or anything like that. He just does comedy, does a podcast, talks, and a lot of times talks to just himself. And I was like, even that guy doesn't use an intro. He just kind of rolls with it. So, commercial. So that kind of helped me with my decision. I was like, all right, a lot of people don't do the intro thing. They don't let you sit there for a long time. They just kind of roll into it. And I'm going to try that as well. For the sake of the facts that the audio version of this show has had a little bit of steam. There you go. I probably did more disservice by talking this whole thing through with you guys than actually just doing it. But it's fine. That's why we're here. That's why we're here. To just bullshit. Yeah, so let's go right into to me the biggest news of the day, once again in our space. And that is this post from Super 7. Now, last week we talked about the rumors that went around that they were beyond rumors because they were actual employees that reached out to various influencers. And believe it or not, some of you guys are influencers. They reached out to say, hey, this is what happened, but we had no official word from Super 7. And we certainly didn't have any words back from Brian Flynn. But we finally got a post today, an hour ago. This went live. And it's what I thought it would be. And thankfully, it's not what I was kind of hoping it wouldn't be. So in this letter, Brian Flynn essentially confirms what we all heard, which is that they had to let go of a lot of people on the team in an attempt to stay afloat. And I'm gonna read out the second paragraph because I think it's important. And, we'll kind of proceed from there. Of course, they mentioned having to let go of people. So actually, I'm going to start from before that because I forgot this was there. So it says here, the preceding 6 months before the tariff announcement have been Super 7's best since the inception of the company nearly 24 years ago. Then the landscape changed overnight. I thought that was really interesting because we've all speculated the complete opposite, that they had not been doing that well. But maybe that gives us a little insight into those deals like the ones they did with Hasbro, where they're getting money up front to do things. Maybe they're getting a decent cut and getting more merchandise out. There's more to their relationships that have been building over the last, 2 years than we probably assume. Also assuming this is true. Nonetheless, they say the last 6 months have been the best in the company's history. Make no mistake. The tariff is a tax on American companies and the American consumer. The people who lost their jobs last week were Americans across 16 different states. The 145% tariff effectively shut our business down, bringing new inventory, leaving the factory to zero. I'm going to read that again because I feel like I'm really fudging that up. The 145% tariff effectively shut our business down, bringing new inventory, leaving factory to zero. Maybe it's not me. It reads that way. Bringing new inventory, leaving the factory to zero. Okay. Bringing the inventory levels, leaving the factory to zero. That's what he is effectively saying. I thought it was just me, but I was like, man, I'm really struggling with that sentence. Continuing, compounded by massive tariffs on pre-order product already on the water heading to consumers. This week's change in tariff to 30% is still a massive increase to this industry that requires significant change to work within. So what does this mean for Super 7? Well, it means we need to be smaller and focus on the core of our business while being very specific about what we make. This allows Super 7 to be safe for future and continue to deliver the awesome product we are known for. There's a lot to unpack there. I think first of all, I feel bad for people who got let go. 1,000%. As somebody who's been laid off by corporate America, more than once, actually. One time by a small business and one time by a former NASDAQ holder or NASDAQ recipient, NASDAQ company. It sucks. It absolutely sucks. So I've been on kind of both sides of the fence here, meaning large company and small company. The big shadow, I think, here when it comes to this letter is Super 7 has made some really questionable PR decisions over the last couple of years. And by questionable, I'm referring to price decisions that have made people really question, are they doing right by us or not? You know, the tariff prices showing up on the in-stock items probably being the most egregious so far. They started that, and they never really addressed that fact. They never really addressed the fact that something marked in stock had a tariff charge. So, and they addressed new things, but not in stock. So that was one. Their prices over the years, the amount of accessories in a package, the new, I'm gonna say like remastered kind of series they had going on with Lino, with Conan, some of the Rogues Gallery from Thundercats. Like that whole line was a bit questionable, like the price versus what you're getting. So the shadow here is their business practices over the last couple years. And the reason I'm even saying it's a big shadow is because anybody who questions the tariff thing in general will read this and say, no, it's because you're greedy, because you've shown me to be greedy already. Sadly. Now, to give you an outsider perspective, meaning not viewing it from the sake of a toy fan, but from the sake of somebody who has done import-export, or I did it for 2 years, worked on a ships for a year. You generally, the tariff amount you have generally is applied to you before you leave. Like whatever is like on your bill of lading for like the date leaving a port. I could be slightly wrong, but the date you're leaving the port is usually when your tariff rate is kind of like locked in. So we heard that from other companies that said, oh, you know, my product that's on the water already is fine. My product that's at the dock already is fine. It's the stuff that's still at the port of origin that's in danger. So, you know, even here, seeing that the tariff hit happened while stuff was already on the water. Again, I'm inclined to question it, but I don't know all the details because I'm not their customs broker. I'm not their broker agent. So I don't know that to be true. There could be deals with all sorts of companies. But either way, they're addressing the fact that we talked about last week, which is even though 145 was the extreme and now we're down to 30, 30 is still a lot higher than what it was before. And that's going to cause an issue with these companies. Super 7 has one more thing working against them, unfortunately, which is the fact that they still are brick and mortar. They have the 2 locations, the 3 locations out in California. If I go down to the bottom, usually they have a store finder or location finder. Most companies do. Here you go. They're in San Francisco and they're in San Diego. 2 extremely expensive cities to operate in. Nobody questions that. So knowing what we knew about the prices and people having issues with the prices, knowing they have brick and mortar still, knowing now the tariffs are on top of that, this is in danger. I will tell you right now. If they're trying to keep this company afloat truly, these 2 things are in danger for sure. But it's also on the table. I believe I talked about last week that they will probably be more open and more inclined to be bought by somebody if they weren't before. Because now somebody can come in and help them cover some of their operating costs in order to get product out there and make a profit. My speculation. But again, that speculation is based on things that have happened, like the Hasbro deal, like the was it McFarlane and Hasbro, right? Deal? Yes. Like that stuff. So everything that I'm saying is coming from something that's happened before. And usually that's where I get my crazy ideas from. But nonetheless, they finally have addressed it. They made their layoffs, so they did a round of layoffs. Usually there's more than one round. We'll see where they go from here. I feel like they need to keep some of the art department, keep some of their logistics department, keep some of their marketing department. They need those teams. It's to some capacity. So I don't know what happens with those guys, but like I said, as somebody who's been a part of layoffs in the past, who's worked in retail for a long, long time, the brick and mortar is usually a money loss for everybody. I don't know many companies outside of like a Walmart, potentially even that's questionable. I don't know a lot of retail companies that sell a product that their brick and mortar is a huge revenue driver. Some companies are known to categorize their retail footprint or their brick and mortar with marketing. They count it as like a marketing expense to a certain degree because that's exposure. But a company like this, I doubt they're selling enough Ultimates to justify the rent and the staff payments or staff payroll. Speculating again, just based off my history with retail and being laid off. So I hope for the best, but expecting the worst in this current scenario. Let me say hi to some folks who have popped in to the chat. We have the Rambling Nerd Anthony in the house. Good to see you. We got Rolando in the house. Good to see you. We got JB in the house. $29.99 Super 7 reaction blind boxes en route. Are they doing blind boxes that are $30? Or are you saying that that's the next step because they have the? I know you were collecting the Super 7 Godzilla blind boxes. I don't know if they were $30. I think they were like 20 or something, right? You can of course let me know. So now we've heard from a lot of companies about how the tariffs are affecting them. And I'm talking about the toy side. We're still waiting on one. We are still waiting on one. And that is NECA. Oh, we're matched today. Look at that. Not even intentional. We're still waiting on NECA to address the tariffs and let us know what is happening with them. We'll see. Now, I might as well actually go into this since we're talking about NECA. This was a fun one that we saw this past weekend, which made me a little concerned, but still was fun. You said, yeah, I was kidding, $14.99, but who knows? Yeah, it's completely possible. It is completely possible. We saw this exciting concept art this past weekend. Blaine of over at my brain took a shit. Blaine from NECA, he is on their marketing team. He shared some concept art of a Last Ronin April O'Neil, but it is actually a combination of Last Ronin and Judith Hoag from the first 1990 movie. And this was pretty dope. Seeing this concept art here, I was all in. I was all in. I am down for this. Completely down for this. But it made me ask the question, whatever happened to the Judith Hoag crossover? She did a live stream with them a couple years ago at this point. It'll take me 9 years to find it. I guess I might as well just try scrolling it and seeing if I find it. But Judith Hoag did a live stream with them way back when. It might be in my reels. A couple of years ago, saying that she was, excited for the releases coming out. They were excited to have her on board and that they were going to do more crossovers with her and potentially other movie characters. Now, since then, we ended up getting the, like the movie monsters and stuff like that. But we haven't seen more of the movie line crossed over with something non-movie. And the one that they had first announced was Judith Hoag's April O'Neil crossed over with the animated series April O'Neil, where she would actually have the yellow jumpsuit. We never got that. Never got that figure. And seeing that concept art there, I was like, All right, so this is not going to be a thing. This is probably a dead idea, and I'm sad about it. I'm sad about it. I don't think I passed it yet. It was way back then. Here we go.
So we have
Channel 3.
Yep.
I love it.
Yep. You'll have both expressions that you got with the Ultimate April O'Neil, multiple hands, the microphone, the camcorder, which is that camcorder from that side panel of the arcade game. So you get the homage to the arcade. Good. You're seeing the updated arm. So this is the reworked arm. We are going to go back and retool and redesign the diaper piece, we call it, and kind of just add a little more curvature and make it look a little more unique to you.
Sigourney Weaver is hot.
And we are revealing right now you as
Look at that.
in a yellow jumpsuit, arcade carpet. So
I had many a mini skirt in that pattern, or jacket, or ripped up T-shirt.
uh-huh.
Look at that.
Oh yeah.
That is so cool.
We never got it. We never got it. And that post he did of her in the Last Ronin suit as a concept, it shook fear into me that he was not with NECA anymore. To drop something like that, where NECA tends to be very secretive in their releases. If anything, they drop Easter eggs by having like a product in the background, which we've seen. But they've never done something like that where they're like, oh, here's a concept, we're never doing it. This is just for fun. That's never happened. And because of that, it made me think, oh shit, did something happen with Blaine where he's not there anymore, or he's leaving? Did he go F it? I'm just going to drop this thing. I don't know. But the fact that he dropped that concept, meanwhile, we still haven't received this one or seen this one, it makes me kind of sad. It makes me kind of sad. And before I get to the comments, the reason she made the Sigourney Weaver comment was the jumpsuit that the version he's holding in his hand. A lot of that is actually coming from the Ripley figure that they made. They used that as the base, and then we're going to retool parts of that figure to create this one, which I would have loved this figure. I would have loved this figure. I probably would have had this figure actually on display where I don't have the existing ones on display. I probably would have went that route. But let me catch up with the comments, see what you guys think of all of this. Rambling said, I saw the real Ghostbuster toy as you scrolled. What's up with that line? We could talk about that actually. It's kind of tied to all this stuff. Any idea why they replaced her? Money issues? April O'Neil? Yes. She came out during the anniversary, which happened during COVID. That would have been the 30th? No, 35th? 30th anniversary. Wow. What is time? She came out during the 30th anniversary. She was all over the place. She had started doing a bunch of lives and doing Turtle Tuesday and all that stuff. And somebody asked her that question, and she said it was a money thing. She said going from the crappy conditions of the first movie, rolling into the second movie, she was like, all right, well, you could pay me more now. And they were like, no. And she took a walk. So that's allegedly what happened. Need that April in the yellow jumpsuit as long as the knees are good. Yeah. The knees would have been better on this one. And the ankles would have been better for sure. For sure. Oh, JB. Millennium in the house. Good to see you. The outfit makes me want cookies and a glass of milk. There you go. Chocolate chip. Let's go. Concept art was great. Yeah. And all right. So you were talking about the Ghostbusters. Yeah. I'll go back up to that one. This was I think I know what you're talking about when I was scrolling, and I feel like that may have been a wish at the time, turned into a reality, but we'll talk about that as well. Oh wait, there's this too.
As a whole, we are not moving forward with our Disney relationship.
Oh,
So
well, Disney was
Simpsons falls away in a little bit because of that.
okay. Well, Disney was the next.
There's a chance as a whole.
Going back to the Brian Flynn Super 7 thing, it was also interesting to see that they had the best last 6 months of their existence, considering they lost the Disney license last year. Or I don't know what the effective date was, but again, questionable things come up. But again, you mentioned the Ghostbusters, and I feel like you were talking about when I was hoping Super 7 would do Ghostbusters. Oh no, it was this I passed.
Well, I think you're crazy.
And apparently, they do think we're crazy when it comes to this line. We'll talk about that real quick. Last Ronin Mikey. Hey Archer, I thought of you today. I'm thinking about making a TMNT helmet. What turtle should I do? And that's why he said Last Ronin Mikey. That's a good idea. Yeah. I feel like actually what's more on brand for you, Rex, is if you make the TMNT movie, when did it come out? 2007? Yeah. When he's where is it? Was it Raph? Yeah, when Raph was this like superhero and he had the turtle helmet and then Leo fought him. This was great. Night Stalker. There you go, Anthony, for the win. The helmet from that, I think you should totally do. If I'm to do a TMNT helmet, I mean, of course, Shredder. Like, if we're going to choose a character, I would say Shredder. Casey Jones at some point. I wouldn't prioritize Casey Jones because we have the NECA one, which is pretty good. But, you know, Shredder would be number one. That's probably the most iconic. But you said it was a Night Stalker. Yeah, that look there, that'd be a cool one to print if you're gonna do a turtle thing. Honestly, I think it would even make cosplaying as a turtle easier. Because you just need an all black suit, throw that helmet on there. I've even seen people 3D print turtle shells. You were thinking like the movies in the 90s. If you're going to do the 90s, then you got to do Shredder. I mean, that's just... Especially because you're good at the sanding of 3D prints. So, I mean, your skills to make this look reflective, I think, would be intense. And then your skills in being able to get the textures here, that would be crazy. The face part there, if you want to get crazy and go into Secret of the Use, you can go into the Super Shredder helmet. But I think, you know, I didn't say it. You said it. I didn't say it. He said it, actually. But yes, you would have a Tatsu, Rex, at your next convention if you do that Shredder helmet. That would be my pick if you're going to do the first movie. That's hilarious. That is hilarious. But all right, let's continue on with with the line of thinking here that we were, I think, on at some point. And then I got derailed by my own conversations. Speaking of Ghostbusters, we have the announcement of Diamond Selects going out of business. Now, this comes courtesy of Ghostbusters News. Ghostbusters News and oh god, Retro J were the only other people I knew talking about the Diamond Select bankruptcy story when that popped off. And I feel like, you know, I think I mentioned it when I talked about it before. I feel like Diamond Select's, the popularity was pretty low. So as I had my first voice break of the episode, I feel like the popularity is pretty low on Diamond Selects. So them declaring bankruptcy wasn't really that big of news. And this one maybe won't be either. But it's still interesting that we're now losing another toy company, considering everything. So this headline reads that Diamond Select Toys reportedly shut down following the acquisition by Ad Populum. Now, if I scroll down here, the closure follows last week's acquisition of Diamond Select Toys and its parent company, Diamond Select Comic Distributors, by Ad Populum and Universal Distribution, amid Diamond declaring Chapter 11 bankruptcy earlier in the year. Despite initial hopes that Diamond Select Toys will continue operations under new ownership, reports indicate that the entire division has been shut down and a sizable, if not complete, number of employees laid off. Now, the reason that I bring this up in general is because of the Ghostbusters line, and I believe this is also a tariff-related thing. Now, up until the Mondo announcement of Ghostbuster figures, these were the only real Ghostbuster figures we had. And I debated picking these up at one point. I didn't feel like paying the crazy prices that people were asking. And it also wasn't like an exact representation of the cartoon. This was more of like, I would consider NECA's approach to it, like a realistic look to the cartoon. So I didn't pay much credence to it, but at the time they were the only ones that existed. Now, the reason I say this is related to tariffs, potentially, is they just got acquired, as stated in the story. And any company right now that is acquiring a comic book and toy company might be regretting those decisions at the moment. Because here it is, you buy these companies, most likely to get their sculptors, their licenses that they have access to. You're trying to get something out of it. You're not just buying them out of the goodness of your heart. But now you've bought a company that relies on product being imported from Asia. So upon that happening, and then all the tariff stuff hits, that's when you're probably like, you know what? I bought them. I'm going to sit on it for a while and figure it out. I'm in no rush to get something out there. You guys can go home. So this is one of those stories where we're not seeing that necessarily in the reporting by Ghostbusters News, but I'm willing to bet that played a factor in this. 1,000%. 1,000%. It sounds like they were struggling before the tariffs. Oh, for sure. For sure. And that's why. So remember, you have Diamond Selects, and then you have that new parent company. Diamond Selects declared bankruptcy, which companies have done before. It's not a good thing when it happens, but companies have done that. They declare bankruptcy. They're saying, hey, we have issues. But in declaring bankruptcy, they also, the people who owned it, sold it to the parent company, the new parent company. Now, I've worked at a company before. Has that happened more than once? Actually, yeah. One of the companies I worked for in the past was actually purchased 2 different times. And it's a similar concept to if you have a loan, like a car note, your mortgage, student loans. This happens a lot. You'll have a company own the assets to something, in maybe a case applicable to a lot of us, our note, car note, house note, whatever. But in this case, you have a physical company. You have a company, an umbrella company will buy a company like a loan. And at times they'll say, all right, I'm buying you, like what I was saying, Hasbro might do Super 7. They're saying, I'm going to buy you, right, so that I can front the cost to keep you going, but I own what you've got going on. I own, like in this case, your artists, your sculptors, your marketing, and more importantly, I own the licenses that you previously owned, unless those companies didn't renew it. And I'm going to assume what those companies say, like if I'm Ghost Core, right, and Diamond Selects has my license, I might say, well, you declare bankruptcy. Obviously, you can't do what you're doing. I'm going to choose to not renew the license. That's completely possible. But there's also the possibility that the parent company, the new umbrella company, said, I'm going to agree to buy you, but I want you to operate as though I don't exist. I'm literally just here to front money and recoup my money back. But one of the terms and conditions to me buying you is that you maintain those relationships that you already had. So in the case of the company that I used to work for, the company I worked for was a construction company, and literally the only thing that changed in my eyes when I was there, the 2 different times that we got bought out, the only thing that changed was like, it was like the name of the company on the door, and then at the bottom of it was like a blank company. So like at the bottom it said, maybe before it said a Millennium Workshop Company, and then once it was sold, it said a JB Toy Hunter Company. Like that's all that changed in my eyes as an employee. So that could have very well happened here. Parent company says, all right, I'm going to buy you because you're at such a low rate because you literally declared bankruptcy. Keep the toys going. I'm going to help you keep the toys going. You better keep those licenses. Let's get on track. But then the tariffs hit and they're like, well, fuck it. It's not worth the gamble. I'm going to pull back. I now own this useless thing, and let's see what happens. Many different ways this could have gone. Many different ways it could have gone. But I'm willing to bet that the scenario I'm saying is most likely what happens. They bought them. They're going to try to keep it going, especially with the comic book side. Comic books are a lot cheaper to make. And then when all the tariff stuff happened, they said, all right, hold, pause. Let's wait it out and see what happens. My guess. JB said, I have a few of the Mega Fig Diamond Selects. Well worth it. Incredible Hulk, Gladiator Hulk, Juggernaut, Abomination. Should have grabbed the Red Hulk when I've seen it many times over. Yeah. Diamond Selects is one of those that when I started collecting, I wasn't familiar with in name. And then as I started to get into the collector community, sorry, I'm like so itchy. As I got into the collector community and saw what a lot of people were getting and seeing people like Century Mad Collector, seeing him get a lot of like older stuff, seeing Ghostbusters News review older stuff. I was like, oh, Diamond Selects made that. Oh, they made that. Oh, they had the Marvel license then. Oh, they had the Ghostbusters license then. Like as time went on, I was like, oh, that was the company that did those. I wasn't paying attention at the time. I didn't clock it. So, sad story for everybody involved. Once again, a company, filing Chapter 11 is never good. But whenever you're acquired, it's usually like a breath of like hope. But this scenario, it's kiboshed. It's a wrap. So sorry for all those people that lost their job. Now, going specifically to the Mondo stuff, I'm going to go back to Ghostbusters News, actually, because I think he did an update on the Mondo figures, if I could find it. I'm not seeing it right away. If I go to all news, oh, here you go. The only thing that was announced with the figures was this one, that Mondo's not going to charge anybody who already bought these figures the new tariff surcharges. But going forward, they will. So all this did is make me happy once again that I didn't get into this line, because a real life scenario right now is that you paid 101 for Egon and Peter, but then by the time Ray and Winston come around, now they're not 101 each. Now they're like $150 each. You know, like that's a real possibility. In which case, you've convinced yourself, I'll eat 400 for these figures. Now you're going to be eating 500, 550, 600. You know, them's the breaks. So I'm glad I didn't get into the line at this point. But I feel bad for anybody who did. I did want to actually talk about this. I also talked about it on over on my channel, on the Instagram page. Last week when we were talking, Hasbro had paused their pre-orders and then they brought them back. They did come back. Actually, no, we did talk about this last week. But what I didn't realize was that they restored the pre-orders for major brands. And I saw somewhere that it says here, Hasbro Pulse issued a heads up encouraging fans to lock in their pre-order pricing before May 8th, which passed. While many assume updated pricing will go live the following day amid ongoing negotiations between the United States and China, Hasbro quietly paused new pre-orders of several of the largest brands, including Star Wars, Marvel Legends, G.I. Joe, and Transformers. Per Business Insider, Hasbro CFO and COO spoke this week with the JP Morgan Technology Media the JP Morgan Technology Media and Communications Conference, outlining how the company was prepared to raise prices in response to a previously announced 145% tariff increase on goods from China. However, with that figure now rolled back to 30%, Hasbro has placed those price hikes on hold. A 30% world is very different from a 145 one. Goddard explained, noting the reduced rate impacts pricing, promotion, and retail strategy decisions. So here you have the tale of two cities. Super 7, their margins are so small already that even that 30% is going to wreck them. Whereas with Hasbro, they probably have more buffer room so they can eat more of it than a Super 7. But here lies the issue a lot of us have been raising, which is the bigger companies like a Hasbro, like a Walmart, will be able to eat a lot of these costs and do so enough to hurt the smaller companies like a Super 7, like a Ramen Toys, maybe like a Diamond Selects, of which case they can scoop in, buy these companies out, and now they have even a larger empire than before. So there's levels to the game outside of just like the generic numbers. And that's what I think a lot of us try to emphasize, is that there's more to this spider web than like just the spider. And I think what the media does at times, and what pisses me off with the media at times, is they give the illusion that things are very black and white when there's more cogs in the wheel. There's more links in that spider web than just the tariff is this, they're price gouging. Not the case. So, we'll see. Actually, I don't remember, Anthony, if you bought into that new line. I don't think you did. But you can let me know if you did. Let me know. As you saw there, as I was scrolling, Ghostbusters Day is coming up real fast, actually. So if you guys are going to be at Ghostbusters Day, definitely hit us up. Say hello when you see us there. I haven't worked on any videos leading up to Ghostbusters Day, and I don't think Anthony has either. So maybe I'll try to get some videos out leading up to that and get some posts going for that. That'll be good. But let's end today's episode with some box office recap. And I don't actually before I do that. I'm behind on Last of Us, so I can't talk about that. I still have not watched season 2 of Andor after those initial. Why is this thing so messed up? I haven't watched Andor season 2 since those first week or 2 weeks. So I haven't seen this awesome ending people are talking about. Still behind on Reacher. Didn't see Thunderbolts. Yeah, behind on media. Behind me. I don't know. You guys tell me, how many of you find yourselves keeping up with new releases or have been keeping up with new releases in the current year of our Lord 2025? I feel like this year, a lot of us have been like, I'll get to it when I get to it versus like needing to see it in real time. JB said, I just finished Daredevil Born Again. Mad late. But I feel like that's common. Like I'm way behind on stuff. I know Anthony's behind on stuff. How many of you are behind on stuff? Is it even important that you see things in, right away? Is it important you see the movies right away? Like do movie spoilers to like specifically the MCU even matter anymore? I don't know. But I feel like if we did a poll, 2 years ago versus now, I feel like people care less now about being up to date and spoilers than they did before. My thought. But going into box office recap, before I talk about the numbers, actually, I posted about this. The next movie in the new TMNT series is dropping in 2027. Somebody mentioned it's supposed to be 2026, so we'll see if this updates as time goes on, but at the moment, 2027. I thought the last movie actually was not that bad. Would I have paid to watch it? No. I'm glad I didn't pay to watch it, but it was pretty good. I enjoyed it watching it with my family. So that won't change when it comes to this. They also had the TV show come out that I haven't heard anybody really talk about. So if you saw that cartoon TV show, let me know. You're an episode off on Last of Us, and you're waiting on Andor because you want to rewatch season 1. I hear that's a great way to watch it. My issue is the current season, they dropped 3 episodes at a time per week. So, if you're rewatching the first season episode by episode, maybe in a weekend, or if you sit at the TV, I don't think JB, you sit at the TV that long. I don't think you can. You're a busy man. Maybe in a week you get through season 1, but season 2, it might take you a week, 2 weeks to get through one arc, and you got to keep going. So it's a lot of episodes. But looking at the last weekend, I was shocked to see Final Destination come out at number 1 on the weekend, 51.6 million. At number 2, we have Thunderbolts. Number 3, we have Sinners, Minecraft, and then The Accountant 2. It broke my heart to see this. Thunderbolts has passed Sinners. I'm going to cheer some Thunderbolts. You did it. As Patrick called out before we went into the weekend, international. Sinners is just not going to do well internationally. And it has not. So it's at 318 right now on the worldwide number. Still very good. 300 was what we needed to crack in order to break top 10. 315 is what they needed to break in order to reach the top 10 of horror movies all time. So it did that. And when you look at the domestic rankings, which are not here, I saw it. Yearly on domestic. 2025. Sinners is number 2. So Sinners number 2 is freaking killing it domestically. But then you go international, completely different story. I think that was actually on the main screen. worldwide. Yeah, number 5. Look, I don't even know what this movie is. This came out 20 million domestic. It made $1 billion. It made $1 billion in China already. Yo, I got nothing for you. I got nothing for you. Who even made this movie? I hate when it does that. Oh wait, if I go here. Yo, what is this movie? I don't know any of this. I don't know any of this. Number 1 movie in the world though. Number 1 movie in the world. So yeah, Sinners is going to struggle internationally, but domestically it's doing good. Yeah, it dropped the mic and money fell on them. Yeah. Sinners will be well deserving of awards, but will get snubbed. I don't think it's going to get snubbed as badly as one would think. I don't remember if I talked to you about it, JV. I know I talked about it with a couple other people. I think I talked about it with Anthony after he saw it. But I'll say kind of it here if I didn't before. I apologize if I did. I feel like Sinners on first viewing gets a score. Like whatever the score is for people, it gets that number. And I feel like the number is probably going to be in like a 7.5 to maybe an 8 range. And then as you think about the movie, whether it's after in real time or like days later, as you retroactively think about the movie and the music and the story, and most importantly, the Easter eggs, whatever number it is, it goes up. So maybe it goes up to an 8.5, maybe it goes up to a 9. I feel like there's going to be a lot of people out there who don't care about the Easter eggs, don't care about the messaging. They only care about what they saw on the first shot. Apparently, some people were able to vote without even watching movies, we learned. Nonetheless, they'll look at what happened first shot and say that's where it belongs. It's not that great of a movie. It's overhyped. I believe that could happen. Hell, right now with Ryan Coogler, like that's happened to me with almost every movie. I didn't like Creed the first time. I didn't like Black Panther the first time. I didn't like Wakanda Forever that much the first time. I still don't like that movie that much. Like maybe slightly better, but for sure I love Black Panther way more than when I first saw it. And I love Creed way more than when I first saw it. So I think if people look into, like I said, the messaging, the Easter eggs, listen to the soundtrack, Sinners could win a lot of awards, but I don't think people are going to go that far. And that might hurt it. But I also think Sinners is at a point that you look crazy if you say the movie's not good. And because of that, people might vote for it because they don't want to look crazy. My thought. But we'll see. I think if there's a year to do it, this is going to be the year to win, for him to win a bunch of awards. Yeah. I was even thinking about like Tenet, for example. Not Ryan Coogler, obviously. That's Christopher Nolan. The movie Tenet with Robert Pattinson and Denzel's kid, it's not like the best movie, but it is more interesting when you watch like the explained videos that were like, when you saw this, it meant that. And when this happened, it meant that. Like, it's a little bit more interesting at that point. Hereditary. I saw Hereditary. I really loved the movie, and I loved it way more when I watched an explain video after the fact. So if you're not somebody who seeks out those kinds of videos and explanations and discussions, then it's easy to let a movie kind of sit at your initial reaction, and the initial reaction may not be that great. My long-winded answer. Sorry. But we have Mission Impossible this week. And once again, I will ask the question, will Mission Impossible beat Sinners? I'm willing to take the bet that it won't, because I think there's a lot of money to be won on that bet. However, I also didn't realize that it is a holiday weekend, which will probably push it over the edge. But I'm wondering, maybe on this holiday weekend, people are like, hey, you know what? I want to give Sinners a shot. I heard it's really good. And it gets a bump. I don't doubt that coming out of this holiday weekend, you get Mission Impossible #1, Sinners #2. Well, you know what? Minecraft's still that one lurking around. Maybe you get Mission Impossible #1, Minecraft #2 if the weather's bad where you are, Sinners #3. Sinners would be #2 if the weather's good where you are. And then you get Thunderbolts, and then Accountant. That'd be my top 5. I didn't realize that this was coming out next week. I feel like they're not even spending the money on marketing right now. I feel like so much is happening with Mission Impossible. They're just like, I'm going to wait. I don't blame them. I don't blame them. Do we think this movie flops? Do we think Karate Kid will flop? I feel like it had a better chance of succeeding if there was direct ties to Cobra Kai and they were advertising that. I don't see anybody talking about this movie, but at the same time, I didn't see anybody talking about freaking Minecraft. And look at what it did. So I'm curious. Internationally, it's going to do great because Jackie Chan's in it. But domestically, will Karate Kid Legends be a flop? We'll find out. I had that CNN interview going on behind the scenes this whole time. That's funny. Just checking the tabs to make sure I didn't miss anything. I don't think I did. Pretty sure I talked about everything I wanted to talk about. Yeah. Kids at work are still talking chicken jockey. Is that from Minecraft? Is that where that's from? I'm just going to load up the Instagram, make sure I didn't miss anything. Mission Impossible marketing, pushing hard. Of course, RIP to I just saw Gold Dust. RIP to was he Norm on Cheers? I can't remember his name on Cheers. But I was just thinking the second I saw him, the Bears. That actor passed away. Where are you at? I thought it would have been like top of my feed just now. God, what's his name? Cheers actor. George Wendit. That's his name? Yeah. He died at 76. He was Norm. I got that right. You don't know the chicken jockey? I don't. It's from Minecraft, right? Did I get that right? Did I get that thing right? Let me know. There was this picture just now too. Look at this. Where you at? Sophie Turner getting jacked for Tomb Raider. So we're still getting that movie. Still getting Tomb Raider. She on the testosterone, boy. She on that gas. She on that Hugh Jackman training regiment. She's on that Sylvester Stallone training regiment. Look it up, chicken jockey. I don't know what this is. I mean, I know it's Minecraft looking at it, but I couldn't tell you anything about it. But you know what? I look forward to watching Minecraft when it's on home release. Because I'm curious as a person who knows nothing about it, I wonder if it's going to be a fun watch. In a way that I didn't really care about Super Mario Brothers, didn't care about Barbie, but they were both fun watches when I did see them. So we'll see. We'll see. But thanks everybody. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Once again, an ad-free episode. My new thing. The lives will be ad-free. And then ads turn on afterwards. So hopefully you enjoyed the experience. But before I hit the outro, once again, sad news. This was the last HeyArcher Live with the intro as it originally existed. Will it be the last of the outro? I don't think so. I'm going to still keep going with the outro. But shout out to all the podcast listeners out there. We're gonna make that intro shorter for you. And for all of you who watch on YouTube as well. That's what we're going to do. HeyArcher Live every Thursday, 8:15-ish p.m. here on Nerd Affiliated. And of course, sporadically throughout the week, throughout the weekend, if I have time, like today. Let me know your thoughts on everything we talked about, especially this toy stuff. It's getting crazy out there. It's getting crazy. JB, I'm going to be here Thursday. I know I'm throwing you off by doing this on Tuesday. Don't worry, I'll be here Thursday, and then we'll cheers to the weekend on Thursday. Unless you're going away, and then I'll say cheers to you in advance on the weekend. But we have more fun videos coming down the pipe. Like I said, we're preparing for Ghostbusters Day. So we'll record some stuff. And of course, we'll be there to bring you some fun footage. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell to get notified, and we'll talk to all you nerds in the next video. Peace. We're out of here.
Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass.